Hello and welcome. It is 10 o'clock. It's the 9th day of February 2021. Only a few days to Valentine's, so if you haven't got me my Valentine's yet, I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming, and I'm eating bagels. Support me, bagels. I need a sponsor, and I will sell out. Okay, so I don't have anything to review today because we've already gone through everything on my shelf. There's a couple I want to revisit, but I also need to go to the local shop and see if there's any old games that look interesting that might be fun to review. So I decided to address a question that somebody posted on the blog last month. And we were discussing dice pool systems, and he mentioned that for some reason it's hard. He thinks it's harder to get people on board to play a dice pool game as opposed to the straight linear D20 games, because he thought, are people more intimidated by the idea of dice pools? And I'm like, I don't know. Are they? Is this less intimidating than rolling a bunch of these or rolling a bunch of these? Because personally, I love rolling lots of six-siders. I love the D6 West End game, Star Wars game. I love any game where I can roll like 5, 6, 10 six-siders for no reason whatsoever other than it is extremely satisfying. Unless you're rolling on your friend's mom's glass table and you scratch it up, then that's not satisfying. But just something about rolling 5, 10 D6. I mean, sure, you get to roll a lot of D6 in D&D when you get to higher levels, but generally D&D is a linear dice system. You roll this, you maybe get to roll this every now and then, but not really. You roll this a couple times, you roll this one a lot, and occasionally you roll the D4 and the poor D12. He just sits in the corner waiting for the one time somebody makes a barbarian and levels up. Level up your barbarian so I get rolled, please. No one loves me. So, is it harder to get people to play a dice pool system? Now, I would think it'd be easier because even after almost 50 years of playing this game and running, I still run into people who don't get this, or the difference between a D8 and a D6, or which one's the D8 and which one's the D10, still to this day. And some of those people have been playing a long time and they're still like, wait, which one am I rolling now? You know, and figuring out the math for, okay, I rolled a D20 and I got a 12, but I get plus 3, so that's 13, 14, 15, and I get plus 2 because so that's 17, but then I get minus 4 because of, so I'm back down to, but I'm using this, which gives me, yeah, D20 math, you know. And still, people who've like playing 10, 15 years are still like confused by this. And like, when do I ever get to roll this? And why do I even have this? On the other hand, systems where you just roll lots of these or lots of these, rolling lots of D6 systems are way more common than rolling any other D6 systems. There are a couple that use D10s. There are a few that use other dice, but D6 seems to be the bread and butter of systems that aren't D20. Why? Because everybody knows what D6s are. They're easy to find. So why would rolling these be more intimidating than rolling this? Is it? I mean, most people gravitate towards this because this is what they recognize and this is what they associate with Dungeons and Dragons. And because Dungeons and Dragons is at the peak of the hill when it comes to instant recognizability, then yeah, people are more graduated towards this and this. Plus, there's something very, I guess, satisfying of having all these weird shapes in multiple colors, and, you know, the Laura Bailey disease of having lots of them, and you know, so, and because they look like gems and they can be pretty and they're interesting, and let's face it, these can be pretty and these can be gems, but these are kind of boring. You know, there's nothing unusual about these. You see them all the time. So because of advertising, because of popularity, because of recognizability, and because of sort of the quasi-addictive quality, more people graduate towards this, but is it more or less intimidating than this? I don't know. It doesn't feel like it is. I think even if you're playing D&D, people want to roll a lot of dice because they know that A, there's a potential to do a lot more damage. B, it's just satisfying and fun. That noise of hearing 4, 5, 6, 8 six-siders roll across the table is extremely satisfying on so many levels. It's just fun counting them. It's fun watching them. It's fun trying to get that high number. The noise, everything about it is very exciting. It's got that Las Vegas gambling thing going on. It's just, it gets your blood pumping, you know? So if I were to put down a bunch of D6 and I would put down a D20, yes, I know people would graduate towards the D20 because of the recognizability, but is it more or less intimidating than rolling a bunch of D6 or a D6 dice pool system? Or is it just that the math is harder? People think the math is harder to figure out. Oh, I got to roll 1 6 to succeed, and I get to roll 3 6-siders? But this time I have to roll 2 6s, but I still get to roll 3 6-siders? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It doesn't feel like a die pool system is more intimidating or harder to sell than D20. It feels like they'd be just the same. If somebody came to your table with no preconceived notions and you told them, oh, I'm playing D6 Star Wars, this is what you do, you get to roll lots of D6s, why not? D6s are easy to get and they're very satisfying and they don't take up a lot of space. Maybe they're not... But obviously, yes, they are not visually as satisfying as these because, again, they look like gemstones, they're collectible, they're attractive, they feel good in the hands, except when you step on that 4-sider at 3 o'clock in the morning. Those things are death. That rates in like the top 5 worst pains in the world. So in the review, in closing, in the review of dice systems, personally, I like dice pool systems and systems that don't use the linear D20. But yes, if somebody has a preconceived notion that Dungeons and Dragons, ka-cling, is linked to rolling a D20 and a D whatever, ka-cling, and they see the D20 and they see the whatever, and they've got maybe the Laura Bailey, oh, you need lots of these, somehow floating in the back of their brain. Thank you, Laura Bailey. If nothing else, you have sold hundreds of dice and put lots of money in the local game store's pocket. So thank you for that. So, but intimidating? Like, again, if somebody had no preconceived notion, had no idea how either system works, and just saw a bunch of 6-siders, or saw these weird shaped pieces of plastic that don't exist anywhere else in the universe except in Dungeons and Dragons, I would think they would graduate towards the 6-siders because they're more recognizable, they're more familiar with them, and they're easier to get. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think people are intimidated by dice pool systems and find the D20, D6, D8 system that we associate with Dungeons & Dragons less intimidating? Or is it just the recognizability that because people have been ingrained with this idea that Dungeons & Dragons equals D20, therefore this is somehow less intimidating? Though, let's face it, once you start doing the math, Dungeons & Dragons dice are way more confusing and way more intimidating than actually just rolling a bunch of 6-siders. So at the end of the day, I think dice pool systems are less intimidating and a lot easier to understand and a lot more recognizable. Everybody knows what a fucking 6-sider is. But yes, the advertising makes us think that dice equal Dungeons & Dragons equal this is easier. Because everybody plays D&D, so it must be easier. But I don't know. Let me know. What do you think? Comment down below on your opinion on this argument. Is it even an argument worth having? Does anybody even actually care what dice we're rolling as long as we're rolling dice and buying them from the store? Buy them from your local store. Do not get them on Amazon. You tell me. Comment down below. Like, share, subscribe. 500 subs by August 4th. We can do it. And support me, bagels. I need a sponsor. And I will sell out. Talk to you later, losers.